It began with a total collapse. Zeno of Citium was a wealthy merchant, a man of status and fortune. In a single night, the Mediterranean swallowed everything he owned, his cargo of purple dye, his livelihood, and his identity, all gone. Stranded in Athens with nothing but the clothes on his back, he wandered into a bookstore. He heard the words of Socrates and felt a spark in the darkness. He realized, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered a shipwreck." The disaster was his liberation. You trust people too much. You believe that because you are kind, the world will be kind in return. You think loyalty is a debt that will be repaid with interest. This is your greatest delusion and the source of your constant suffering. Today, we face the 7 brutal truths about people that your heart has been too afraid to accept. We will build your inner citadel, brick by cold, hard marble brick. We will turn your softness into stone and your fear into focus. There was a man who gave everything. He believed his kindness was a shield against the world's cruelty. He spent his years carrying the burdens of others, hoping that one day, when his own strength failed, they would be there to carry his. But life has no such contracts. He found that the more he sheltered others from the rain, the more they expected him to be their umbrella. They didn't see his sacrifice, they only saw his availability, and they used it until there was nothing left but dust. Truth. 1. People act for themselves. This is not a betrayal, it is nature. Every creature on this earth pursues its own survival and its own interests. To expect a selfish person to be selfless is like being angry at a thorn for pricking. Marcus Aurelius began every morning with a specific reminder. He said, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He did not say this to be bitter. He said it to be immune, to be prepared. He viewed difficult people as sparring partners sent by the universe to help him refine his own character. When someone is rude, they are testing your patience. When they are ungrateful, they are testing your virtue. They are tools for your growth. If you act virtuously and are still criticized, the fault lies with the critic's judgment, not your worth. Marcus argued that since we have seen the beauty of good, we cannot be truly harmed by the ugliness of the meddling and the ungrateful. When the Stoic Agrippinus was told that he had been banished by the emperor, he didn't weep or plead. He simply asked, "To where?" And when told the location, he replied, "Very well, let us go to lunch there then." He refused to let an external event disturb him. He understood that the emperor was acting in his own interest, and Agrippinus would act in his. He refused to give another man the power to dictate his mood. He was the master of his response, even in exile. He chose his own lunch and his own peace. They act this way because they cannot tell good from evil. They are not attacking you. They are simply pursuing their own perceived self-interest. To be surprised by their selfishness is to be surprised that a thorn pricks or a fire burns. It is your error, not theirs. Stop expecting people to act like you. Accept the nature of the animal, and you will never be surprised by a sting again. Be the rock in the river. Let the water flow around you. Let it splash. Let it try to move you. But you stay still. You stay stone. Truth 2. Respect is not given. It's taken. You thought your yes made you valuable. You thought that by being at everyone's beck and call, you were building a bridge of love. You were actually building a road for them to walk on. You were training them to ignore you. Seneca warned that we are stingy with our money, but reckless with our time. We give our hours to fools and our minutes to distractions. Yet time is the only thing we can never buy back. It is our most precious capital. How much of yours have you wasted today? Rare things are precious. Common things are stepped upon. If you are always there, always available, always willing to sacrifice your own peace for their convenience, you become common. You become part of the furniture. And furniture is not respected, it is used. Cato the Younger's rigidity began in childhood. When he was 4, a man held him out of a high window, threatening to drop him unless he supported a political cause. Cato remained silent and unblinking. He refused to yield his principles, even to death. The man was terrified by the child's resolve. Cato had taken his respect through the absolute refusal to be moved by fear. He understood even then that your respect is not something others grant you. It is something you demand through your own unshakable will. The man stopped answering every call. He stopped solving every problem. He retreated into his own inner citadel. At first, the voices outside were angry. They called him cold. They called him selfish. They missed their servant, but they were about to meet their master. And finally, they began to wait. They began to ask. They began to value the few moments he gave them. He had become rare. He had become respected. He had taken his power back by valuing himself first. He was no longer a road. He was a destination. Truth 3. Silence is power. We speak to be understood, but we are often just exposing our vulnerabilities. We reveal our hand. We show our wounds to those who might salt them. Silence is the wall that keeps the world's chaos at bay. It is the ultimate shield. In silence you observe. You see the true nature of those around you while they reveal themselves in their chatter. Silence is not an absence of thought, but the highest form of presence. It is the fortress of the wise. Talking less gives you the advantage of reality. When Zeno first studied philosophy, he was too self-conscious. His master, Crates, forced him to carry a pot of lentil soup through a crowded marketplace. When Zeno tried to hide it, Crates smashed the pot with his staff, letting the soup run down Zeno's legs. "Why run away?" the master shouted. "Nothing terrible has happened to you." Zeno learned that the opinions of the crowd are like shadows. They cannot touch the stone of your character unless you allow them to. His silence in that moment was his first step toward greatness. Portia Catonis, the daughter of Cato, once stabbed herself in the thigh to prove she could keep a secret. She bore the pain in absolute silence. She wanted to show that her mind was stronger than her flesh, and her silence was a demonstration of an iron will. When her husband finally saw her strength, he trusted her with his greatest plans. Her silence was not a weakness. It was a demonstration of a power that words could never reach. She had earned her place at the table of power through the discipline of the unspoken. When you are insulted and you stay silent, you win. The person attacking you wants a reaction. They want to control your emotions. By refusing to respond, you keep the remote control of your soul in your own hands. You remain untouchable, a mountain in the storm. The man became silent. He stopped explaining himself to those who were determined to misunderstand him. He realized that your value is not determined by how many people hear you, but by how much you hear yourself. His silence became his sanctuary and his strength. Truth 4. Attachment creates pain. Everything you love is on loan from the universe, your friends, your status, your health. If you forget that the loan must be repaid, you will suffer when the debt is called. Stoicism is the art of holding loosely. Epictetus, who was born a slave, knew that freedom is the only worthy goal. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our power. If your happiness depends on a person staying, you are their prisoner. You have handed them the key to your inner citadel. Take it back. Epictetus's master once began to twist his leg. Epictetus calmly said, "You will break it." When the bone snapped, he simply said, "Didn't I tell you it would break?" He was a master of his own will, even while his body was being shattered by another man's madness. Lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will. He taught that if your happiness depends on something external, you are a slave. Place your worth in your character, and you become unbreakable. You are the mountain, and the world's pain is just the weather. Epictetus owned only a clay lamp. When a thief stole it, he did not weep. He simply remarked that the thief had taken a great risk for something of no value, while he had lost nothing of his peace. His mind was not in the lamp. His mind was in the truth. He replaced it with an iron one, more durable and less tempting. He taught that we suffer because we place our worth in things that can be stolen, broken, or lost. Place your worth in your will, and you become the richest man in the empire. No one can steal your soul. Treat everything like a golden leaf on the wind. Admire its beauty while it is here, but do not weep when it blows away. It was never yours to keep. It was only yours to experience. Love deeply, but hold loosely. The universe is just reclaiming what was always its own. The man began to practice voluntary discomfort. He loved people deeply, but he no longer needed them to survive. He was finally free because he was no longer a slave to his own desires. He had learned that the only thing you truly own is your response. Everything else is a guest. Truth 5. Most people change. Values shift. Interests evolve. The friend of today is the stranger of tomorrow. This is not a betrayal, it is the law of nature. The seasons of the soul are as real as the seasons of the earth. Acceptance is your only salvation. Seneca observed that we live as if we were destined to live forever, wasting time on fickle people. To be devastated when a friend turns into a stranger is to forget that you too have changed. The only constant is your own integrity. The world is a mirror, not a judge. Seneca was a man of extreme wealth, but he lived with the knowledge that it could be taken in a heartbeat. He practiced poverty while living in a palace, eating meager meals and sleeping on the floor. He was training himself to be independent of his environment. When he was exiled to Corsica, he didn't shatter. He had already practiced being poor. He had already practiced being alone. He found that the only thing that hadn't changed was his own mind. Your character is the only anchor in a shifting sea. Be the anchor. Seneca watched as the young boy he taught turned into a monster. He saw Nero change, and he prepared for the end. He knew that even the most promising hearts can be corrupted by power and time. He did not judge the change. He simply adjusted his response to it. When Nero ordered his death, Seneca did not plead. He was ready. He died with the same calm with which he lived, a rock in a river of madness. He showed the world that even in death, the Stoic is free. He had mastered the changing tides of fate. The man became the rock. People flowed in and out of his life like the current. He stopped trying to hold them. He accepted that their departure was as natural as their arrival. He was finally at peace with the changing tides of humanity. He was the stationary point in a moving world. Truth. 6. Not everyone deserves you. You have been treating every stranger like a brother and every acquaintance like a confidant. You have been throwing your pearls into the mud and you wonder why they are dirty. Guard your depth. It is your most sacred treasure. Stoicism is not about being a doormat. It is about the inner citadel, a wall that you build around your peace. You must be selective. You must guard your gates. To let everyone in is to allow your home to be trashed by those who do not know its value. Build the wall. Cato the Younger refused to live under the mercy of a tyrant. After ensuring his friends were safe, he chose to end his own life rather than compromise his principles. He was a man who belonged only to himself. His integrity was not for sale at any price. He was the icon of liberty. He spent his final hours reading philosophy. He knew that a life without liberty was not a life at all. He built a wall around his soul that even Julius Caesar could not breach. He was selective because he was sacred. Be like Cato. Guard your gates with iron. The man built his wall. He became polite but distant. He became kind but unreachable. He stopped explaining himself to fools. He saved his depth for those who had the courage to dive. He was no longer a resource to be consumed. He was a sanctuary to be respected. Truth. 7. Peace comes from detachment. The ultimate brutal truth is memento mori. Remember that you must die. This is not a threat. It is the ultimate gift of clarity. It is the end of all triviality and the beginning of true wisdom. Face the end to find the beginning. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that his ancestors were dead, and he soon would be too. This realization fueled his commitment to be good in the present moment. If this was your last day, would you spend it seeking the approval of a fool? Death clarifies what truly matters. The Stoics practiced the view from above. Imagine yourself floating high above the earth, seeing the entire human race as tiny specks. See their wars, their weddings, and their worries as the insignificant flickers they truly are. From this height, the storm is just a ripple in a cup. In the face of the cosmos, your grievances are nothing. Your enemies are nothing. Even your life is just a moment. This perspective is not meant to make you small, but to make your problems small. It is the path to true detachment and eternal peace. Expand your soul to the stars. During a great plague, Marcus Aurelius auctioned off the imperial treasures to save his people. He saw the gold and jewels for what they were, just rocks and thread. In the face of death, the things we chase become meaningless. He gave the treasures of the empire to save the lives of the poor. Why do you weep for me? he asked on his deathbed. Think rather of the death which is common to us all. He was free because he had already faced the end. He had no more expectations, and therefore he had no more disappointments. He died as a citizen of the world. The man faced his mortality. He realized his time was a flickering candle in a vast, dark hall. He stopped wasting it on regret. He let go of the world's expectations and embraced the present moment. He found that when you stop needing the world, you finally own it. He stopped expecting, and therefore he had no more disappointments. He stopped wanting, and therefore he had no more lack. He was finally free. He had become a Stoic, and that changed everything. The storm still rages, but he is the mountain, untouchable, unshakable, eternal. There is one final secret, amor fati, love your fate, not just to accept the storm, but to love it. To realize that every obstacle is fuel for the fire of your character. The fire does not care about the rain. It uses the wind to grow. Stop wishing for things to happen as you want them to. Instead, wish for them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. This is the ultimate freedom, to love the very path that leads to your end. Love the journey, love the storm. Remember these truths, not to become cold, but to become strong. For the world is a storm, and you are the mountain. Let the rain fall, let the wind blow. You are the only thing you truly own. Your character is your citadel. Be the mountain. Peace begins when attachment ends. Weak people react, strong people observe. Be the mountain, and the world will never be able to shake you again. This is the Stoic way. This is your way. Forever, you are finally free. The journey begins now, in the silence, in the stone, in the soul. Be the mountain. Stoicism is not a destination, it is the walk. Continue walking forever.